Hello there friends and welcome. Today I want to talk about my updated companion guide for Ember the Witch, all ready for the enhanced edition. And I dare say this updated build is a lot more fun and powerful than my last one for her. With it, your Ember will be able to achieve extremely high enchantment DC spells, up to 50 and even higher, as you easily crowd control entire armies of demons and enemies into complete submission with but a single cast, making them easy pickings for your party members. And for the rare enemies that escape, or the ones you truly want to punish, we'll still have Ember's thematic fire spells, including the ultimate HELLFIRE Ray, for truly absurd amounts of single target damage that are super easy to hit because they will target both the enemy's flat-footed and touch armor class at the same time. And of course provide amazing debuffing and also buffing support through her very powerful hexes. So without further ado, let us get into our Ember the Enchantress Witch build. Alright, so Ember comes at around level 3, which means you have from 4 onwards to fully customize her. Her starter class is Stigmatized Witch, basically a spontaneous caster version of the Witch class based on Charisma. At level 4, increase Charisma, which is also what you increase on all of the other levels, to truly maximize Ember's spell casting, most importantly her DC, for her enchantment spells. As far as skill points, ideally you want to keep increasing Persuasion. Ember can easily make all of the persuasion checks for your party, not only because of her high charisma but also her Raven familiar. Use Magic Device can help too, for some divine scrolls. And besides that, I would focus on knowledge and world. We are going lore master after all, so we'll have skill focus into this, and this way Ember can actually contribute to your party when resting and camping for cooking. I think it kind of fits her, especially for a witch. Now your hex choice at level 4 is going to depend on the difficulty you are at. If you are an unfair, then as usual, you definitely want Protective Luck as early as possible to reduce your chances of getting hit. After all, you don't want double damage. Otherwise, for hard and below, I'd much rather go with Evil Eye. Now, I already have a hexes guide where I explain what the best hexes are and talk in depth about each of them, so please be sure to check that out. You can find it to the side here or in the video description. For now, I'll keep it simpler. Evil Eye is an amazing debuff. A -2 to the enemy's armor class or saves is great, and at level 8 it will become -4, quite crippling. Even if the enemy makes the save, they'll still be hit by the debuffer effect for 1 round, more than enough, and later you can just use Cackle to extend it as a move action. So yeah, Evil Eye is the way to go. As a matter of fact, early game your Ember can just get by through spamming Slumber to take annoying enemies out, and also Evil Eye for more debuffing. She doesn't need to attack, she doesn't need to cast offensive spells, because both Evil Eye and Slumber are infinite users, very spammable and very efficient. For your first level 2 spell, once again I already have a guide for the best arcane spells in the game, so I'll keep it simpler for now. Glitter Dust is a must, it bypasses spell resistance, can blind multiple enemies. An amazing spell overall, even without focus into Conjuration. Before casting this, you can debuff the enemy with Evil Eye first, to increase the chances of this sticking. And as luck would have it, you actually gain both at the same level. For your first level 5 feat, I would go with Heightened Spell. Heightened can provide amazing spellbook flexibility, especially for spontaneous casters, but most importantly, because at the next level, you'll gain level 3 spells, which means you can then Heighten Glitter Dust, and trust me, a Heightened Glitter Dust is better than pretty much everything, besides Heightened Grease. Unfortunately, witches don't learn Grease. Then for another level 1 spell, definitely Enlarge Person, one of the best early game buffs, especially for melee characters that are focused on strength. And then for another level 2 spell, go for False Life, which can provide her a nice layer of temporary hit points, and it even lasts 1 hour per level. Real time, by the way. So at this point, Ember will also gain Scorch Ring for free from her Witch Curse. The problem is, this spell isn't really that good early game. It takes until around level 10 to level 11 before it becomes respectable. Using it early on is a waste, I'm afraid. You are much better off spamming Slumber, Evil Eye and Glitter Dust. Now for a level 6 hex, for unfair, you already picked Protective Luck at level 4, so now you want Cackle, and honestly, for the other difficulties, Cackle is also the way to go. The reason is, as I said before, you can use Cackle as a move action to extend your Evil Eye duration, so even if the enemy saves, they're basically doomed to be debuffed by Evil Eye. And since Cackle costs a move action, you'll still retain your other hexes or spellcasting action in the same round. For your first level 3 spell, this is going to depend. Heroism is the way to go, unless you already have a Scald, a Bard, or another character that can cast it like Nenio. Since I do go with Scalds, I'd rather pick Stinking Cloud. And yes, I know demons are immune to poison, so immune to this spell, however, until chapter 4, you'll also fight a lot of human enemies. especially some very annoying human cultist spellcasters. With this spell, you can easily shut them all down, especially when combined with the Delay Poison communal spell to make your party immune to your effect, as this does have friendly fire, and at this point your divine casters will easily have it already. Plus remember, you can just heighten Glitter Dust as well as a level 3 spell in case you're fighting demons. For level 7, go with spell penetration. It is true that early game, your main abilities don't really care for spell resistance. Slumber, Vulnerability Curse and Evil Eye all bypass it. The same for your main CC spells, Glitter Dust and Stinking Cloud. However, starting from level 10, we'll get our first overpowered enchantment spell, so this is just in preparation for that. Then pick Unbreakable Heart here to remove confusion, just in time for the annoying Leper Smile map area where you fight a lot of Vescavor enemies that have confusion auras. And then Pernicious Poison can be quite useful because it increases the DC of Stinking Cloud by a +4. Then I'd go for Vampiric Touch here, only to give Ember even more temporary hit points. Remember, you can just cast this on a party member before battle starts and then just heal them to easily pre-buff with it. For your level 8 Hex, I would definitely go with Fortune Hex by now, so at this point it already lasts 2 rounds, and since we already have Cackle, you can even extend it if you want. And in case you were at Unfair, you would already have Protective Luck, so you can extend them both forever if you prefer. It's not really needed, but it works. The reason I'm delaying Protective Luck is that for hard and below, it's not that needed, since you know, you don't take double damage. Then as your first level 4 spell, I'd go for Phantasmal Killer. It can be somewhat hard to get this to work early on, especially if you're on Unfair, as it does require 2 saves, Will, and also Fortitude. But at this point, Ember's Evil Eye will already debuff the enemy's saves by -4, both Will and Fortitude. Plus eventually, through Gear, we'll get some nice bonuses to mind-affecting spells. Anyways, you can always rely on heightened Glitter Dusts and Stinking Clouds for level 4 spell slots too. Now at level 9, because we absolutely must get into Lore Master at level 10, we want Skill Focus and then Knowledge World to qualify for it. Then you might as well pick Cure Moderate Wounds, and Remove Curse can help a lot for spontaneous casters. And then either Enervation or Greater False Life. Enervation can help debuff the enemies through negative levels, which do stack, and with a Maximize Rod you can outright drain 4 levels at once. Each negative level will also reduce the enemy saves, so can have a lot of synergy with Evil Eye and your debuffing spells like Phantasmal Killer. Plus they also reduce attack bonus, hit points, it's quite useful. Lastly, while Enervation does require a Ranged Touch roll and has to penetrate spell resistance, it doesn't have a save at all, so always drains levels from the enemies. You might even consider picking it earlier instead of Phantasmal Killer, it's up to you. Now for level 10, as I said, we finally enter into Lore Master. This is extremely important to give Ember access to a cleric spell that we absolutely want. Greater Command and then the Halt variant. This spell is by far the best enchantment crowd control spell in the whole game, until around level 18 where you can get Overwhelming Presence, which is a level 9 spell, so it's going to last you for a long time. With one cast of Greater Command, you pretty much stunlock the entire enemy army. If they fail the save, they'll just stand around doing nothing. It's not only highly efficient, but also kinda thematic for Ember, I think. There is something to be said about having Ember instantly make all of the enemies stand there listening to her sermons about redemption and so on. Anyways, it's a super powerful spell, a must-have. Now I know you might say, well, we don't have spell focus into enchantment, we'll be getting them soon enough. The reason we can't afford to delay them is because, trust me, there are loads of gear that grant a +2 DC to enchantment spells each in the game. As a matter of fact, that's like 5 or 6 that you'll all get, so it is safe to delay focus for later, especially since we are somewhat feat-starved early on. For your first level 5 spell, you might as well pick Mind Fog. This is a great way to debuff the enemy's will saves, works wonderfully for Greater Command, and even Phantasmal Killer. Now for level 11, I'd return into Witch because at level 10, Witches can get their first major hacks, and one of them is very useful. For a level 11 feat, definitely greater spell penetration. As I said, there are multiple ways of increasing your DC for enchantment spells. On the other hand, spell penetration sources are way rarer. Now for your first major hacks, I would once again delay Protective Luck if you weren't on Unfair, and the best one overall is Beast's Gift. This is a Witch Hex only, so Shamans miss out on this, and it grants every single party member an extra bite attack. Bite attacks are great because, well, they're an extra attack per round. While this does have a duration of minutes equal to your Witch level, it doesn't matter because you also have infinite uses, so if it ends, you just cast it again. It's as simple as that. Anyways, extra attacks per rounds are always amazing, and remember, there are plenty of extra sources of damage you can add to these bite attacks even if the base damage is low. For another level 2 spell, honestly they kinda don't matter. You might as well pick Fine Traps. And then Cure Serious Wounds here, plus Greater False Life. For another level 5 spell, they are kinda mostly disappointing. You might as well pick Feeble Mind here because it does have a nasty -4 built-in debuff against enemy spellcasters, and is a mind-affecting enchantment spell. Now, from this point onwards, you can actually go all out into Lore Master, which means you would get 9 levels for it for all of the secrets possible, as the last secret is gained at level 9. I kinda prefer to leave Lore Master at 7 and miss out a secret, because this way I can get the other secret I want at level 15 and then level 18, which are very important marks. So for the next 2 levels up to level 13, stick with Witch. For your first level 6 spells, well, we already get HELLFIRE Ray for free through the Red Salamander Ring, and eventually we also get HELLFIRE Ray at level 7 for free too, through Ember's Curse. Ideally you want Greater Heroism, unless, once again, you already have like a Skald or Bard or Naniel who can cast it as well. Because I do have Skalds, I'd rather go with Greater Dispel Magic. And remember, at this point, until level 8 spells, you can just keep on heightening Greater Command, which is actually more efficient than any of the other crowd control level 6, 7 and 8 spells. Yes, it is that good. For our level 13 feat, this is when you'll get into Spell Focus and Enchantment. Then for your last Witch Hex, honestly at this point I'd rather go with Protective Luck if you didn't pick it before for unfair. Trust me when I say that the other hexes, even the so-called Grand Hexes, well, they are very underwhelming. And I know you might say that going Lore Master will reduce Ember's Hex difficulty class by like 2 points. The thing is, starting from level 10, you don't have to rely on your Slumber Hex anymore. You can just spam Greater Command Halt forever and ever, which is way more efficient since it hits the entire enemies at once. As far as Evil Eye and Vulnerability Curse, they work even if the enemy makes the save. For another level 4 spell, the reason I didn't pick Death Ward is because I go with Darren, who is a spontaneous caster, so he already has this for me. I'd rather pick Dimension Door because you'll soon be entering Chapter 4, and there are a lot of secret areas there that can only be accessed through the Dimension Door spell by teleporting your party. Then you can pick anything here, might as well go for Baleful Polymorph, which is thematic for a witch at least. Your other level 6 spells are also all disappointing. Like I said, Heightened Greater Command is better than anything here. Might as well pick Raise Dead as spontaneous caster so you can put your diamonds to use if needed. Now for level 14 and 15, resume progression into Lore Master, so we can get a secret at 15. For your first level 7 spell, Legendary Proportions is an amazing buff, but I go with Camellia and she can already cast it. The same for Naniel, so I don't bother picking it with Ember. I'd much rather pick Heal now, because this can be quite useful for a spontaneous caster. At level 15, Greater Spell Focus and Enchantment. And then for your important Lore Master secret, Combat Feat and Shatter Defenses. The reason is, when you cast HELLFIRE Ray and you have Shattered Defenses, you not only hit the enemy's ranged touch armor class, but also their debuffed ranged touch armor class, because they'll also be flat-footed. So basically, you reduce the enemy's armor class so much by having both of these, that Ember can hit even the Demon Lords with complete ease, even on unfair, with her HELLFIRE Ray. While level 15, as usual, because at this point your casters already have Frightful Aspect, which automatically shakens enemies, including even Baphomet and Descari, without a save for free. Your HELLFIRE Ray is already becoming way more powerful, because this is when you get 2 rays at once, with maximum damage to a 15d6. Your other level 5 spell can truly be anything, they're all worthless. Honestly, kinda the same for level 6 spells. You might as well like pick Stone to Flash so you don't have to rely on scrolls. And then Ice Body here, which is a very powerful self buff for Ember because it makes her immune to critical hits, sneak attack, ability damage, and also a lot of other stuff really. At level 16, resume progression into Stigmatized Witch, so your last witch level, only so that we can get another secret at level 18, which is when it matters the most for Lore Master. For our first level 8 spells, they're honestly all kinda garbage overall, besides Mind Blank. Heightened Greater Command Halt is better than anything here. For crowd control, as for damage, you already have HELLFIRE Ray, including Heightened HELLFIRE Ray too. Frightful Aspect, I'd rather leave this for a character that is at melee range, like Social, who can also learn it earlier, as this is an aura centered on your character. Ember will be decently far away from the enemy as a ranged character and spellcaster. Mind Blank is kinda the only saving grace here, although eventually you'll get a party-wide version of this. The reason Mind Blank is so useful now is because it also prevents enemies' true seeing effects from working which means they will not be able to bypass your illusion spells such as Mirror Image, but most importantly the concealment effects like 50% from displacement or greater invisibility. Now at level 17, resume Lore Master progression until level 20. For our level 17 feat, improved critical and ray. So I kinda wanted this build to be both strong at crowd control and also powerful with HELLFIRE Ray, as this is one of Ember's main thematic powers, I'd say. By default, ranged touch spells only critical on a 20, with this it will become 19 to 20, and when aided by Fortune Hacks, you can even increase that even further. Then you can really pick anything you want as another level 7 spell, like Greater Bestow Curse. I think it fits a witch. Once again, anything for a level 8 spell, might as well go with like Stormbolts. At level 18 we'll get another Lore Master secret, which is very important because we can now pick a level 9 spell. What you want is, well, either Cleric or Wizard spell because they both have access to this. And then Overwhelming Presence, which is the ultimate enchantment spell in the whole game. It hits only the enemies, a big area of effect. Even if the enemy saves, they'll still be hit with a nasty stagger debuff. Even if they recover early as well, they also get stuck with a crippling effect. It's amazing overall. You cast this and just like Greater Command Halt, the enemies will stay still doing nothing. Easy praise for your party members to destroy after. Then for your actual level 9 Witch spell, I would honestly go with Mind Blank Communal because like I said, it's super powerful now. And from all of your party members, only Ember and Nenio can get this spell. You'll also gain Fiery Body for free from your Red Salamander Ring, so quite fun. For your level 19 feat, because at this point your HELLFIRE Rays at full power, firing 3 rays per cast, I would go with Bolster spell. This way you can bolster HELLFIRE Ray and then apply your Meta Magic Rods to empower and maximize it at the same time as bolster, for the ultimate damage possible. Any level 8 spell here. For another level 9 spell, well, Heroic Invocation can be great, but you know, Darren can cast it for free. I'd rather leave it to him. The same for Nenio. I would go for Foresight instead. Now for your true last Lore Master secret, at level 20, honestly this can go a number of different ways. You can, for example, pick Rogue Secret, then Combat Trick, and Improved Initiative, as we didn't really have space for this before. And then through Mythic Progression at Mythic 10, pick Mythic Improved Initiative. You can also go for another spell for Ember. As an example, you have Sense Vitals, which adds 5d6 sneak attack to her, and works with HELLFIRE Ray. You can even give Ember the Weird spell, because you also have some boosts to mind-affecting illusion spells through our enchantment gear. I think it's kinda overkill. I'd much rather have Ember focused on enchantment instead. But hey, it's a possibility. I would personally go with Improved Initiative, even if it only comes late. Then you might as well pick Heroic Invocation here, because the other spells aren't really useful. Alright, let's get into Ember's Mythic Progression now. As usual, Abundant Casting for her first Mythic ability. You truly want to maximize her spell slots for buffing, debuffing, damage, and crowd control. For Mythic level 2, Mythic Spell Penetration. It's going to take us a little longer to get the normal Greater Spell Penetration feat, but when we do, this will highly help us bypass any spell penetration the enemy might have. For Mythic level 3, Improved Abundant Casting. At this point your Ember should already have level 4, 5, and will soon get level 6 spells. For Mythic rank 4, Sorcerer's Reflex is my preferred pick here. As a spontaneous caster, whenever Ember applies Meta Magic to her spells, they will cost a full round action, so 6 seconds. Sorcerer's Reflex, on the other hand, will allow us to cast our first spell during battle as a swift action, so instantly activated. Now this spell will also have to be at least 2 levels lower than the maximum you can cast, which means eventually you can quicken even level 7 spells and lower. When you first get this, it's like level 1 to level 3 spells, but this will soon scale quite wonderfully. For Mythic level 5, Greater Abundant Casting at last. At this point you should definitely already have level 7 spells, and we'll soon get 8 and 9. For Mythic level 6, Mythic Spell Focus and Enchantment. Right here you'll already have both of the Greater Spell Focus enchantment feats, and also a lot of enchantment boosting DC gear. For Mythic rank 7, now you might be asking why I'm not picking Ascended Element and Fire, and the reason is simple. Through the Bane of Spirit Ring, the same one I covered in my CAVALIER build guide, we can easily convert all of Ember's damage, including fire damage, into irresistible force damage. At will, it doesn't have a limit, it costs a free action only, which are unlimited, per round, instantly activated. Like I said, it's one of the most OP rings in the whole game. So I don't see much of a point in bothering wasting a mythic ability with this when we can just have irresistible damage on demand anyways. I know some people will say you can then combo HELLFIRE RAYS with Elemental Barrage for the aspect of the Asp Talisman. I tried doing that, and honestly, I was getting both fire and acid damage procs, but no Elemental Barrage procs. So my guess is OCAT changed Elemental Barrage so that it truly only works from spells. Or at the very least, it's not working with that amulet. What I would pick now is Beneficial Curse, and then Powerless Prophecy. This way we get the amazing bonuses from Powerless Prophecy, such as a +4 Insight to Initiative, a very welcome addition to our Ember as she doesn't really have high initiative. Due to our rather tight feat selection, she only gets improved initiative kinda late, and the other bonuses are great too. For Mythic rank 8, Mythic, Critical, and then Ray, so we can truly achieve the highest damage possible with our HELLFIRE RAYS. As far as Mythic level 9, go with Favored Meta Magic and then bolster it. At this point we already have the normal bolster feat, and since Ember has HELLFIRE RAYS both on level 6 and level 7, reducing the cost to 0 means we'll also get bolstered HELLFIRE RAYS on both level 6 and 7. Quite fun and very efficient. As for your Mythic feat at level 10, I'd go with Mythic Improved Initiative, as at this point you should already get the normal Improved Initiative from a Lore Master secret. But you can of course also go for another Mythic ability like Last Stand, just to be safe. Alright, now let's cover gear for our Enchantress Ember. For the amulet slot, the Glass Amulet of Clarity is by far the best for any character focused on enchantment, and even illusion, which is also mind affecting. The +2 to DC is amazing. I'm pretty sure you can get this at the very start of chapter 3, from your jewelry merchant. Earlier, however, you can also go with the Amulet of Blackened Mirror, for the +1 to the DC of your hexes, great for slumber. When it comes to armor, Haramakis are by far the best, as they don't interfere with spellcasting. Deadly Rays is my preferred choice here, for the very nice +4 Insight bonus to ranged touch attack rolls. So HELLFIRE and Scorching Ray. When it comes to robes, you have two best choices. The Robe of the 7 Sins is a must-have for any character focused on DC. However, if your main character is an AZATA or Aeon, then the Robe of Mephistopheles is by far the best, for the extremely creeping -4 aura debuff to enemies against compulsion effects. Early game you can also go with the Robe of Inevitability. You can buy it from Moji for a +2 bonus to spell penetration, later the Robe of Determination, and then either Mephistopheles or 7 Sins. For the belt slot, at first, belts that increase Ember's dexterity, and after that, dexterity and constitution. She doesn't really need strength. For gloves, the best one by far are the Twisted Temptation gloves. This also boosts your enchantment DC by +2, and even debuffs the enemy's will saving throws even further. Boots kinda don't matter for your Ember. As always, you have the free rain boots for permanent freedom of movement, but you can just cast the buff instead. And besides that, basically just run X Sacrifice, although you might as well save this for a character that is actually focused on dexterity. For the helmet slot, Headbands of Charisma by far, and eventually you can also get Headbands of Mental Perfection. Darkness Caress is the best one, but you might as well prefer to have it on your main character. For the glasses slot, the Goggles of Mind Control are always the best for any mind-affecting focused character, as it also enhances your DC by +2. The only downside is these goggles are an absolute pain to get, because they only come from Naniel's dungeon, the most insufferable place in the whole game. On the other hand, for higher persuasion you can also go with the Goggles of Piercing Gaze instead. For the cloak slot, as usual, Cloaks of Resistance with the highest modifier, but Ember can get very high saving throws thanks to her high charisma and the Bestow Grace spell from Scylla. Even if you were to take 6 points here from Guarded Hearth, she would still have quite high saves. For the ring slots, Red Salamander is always very fun, because it grants a lot of fire spells for free, which is why I don't bother learning HELLFIRE RAYS. For your second ring slot, the Ring of Chaotic Fascination is amazing as well, once again because it's another gear that increases the DC of your enchantment spells by another +2. It's why I kinda said you have a lot of ways of enhancing your enchantment DC. For braces, the Braces of Mind Break, once again another +2 to your enchantment DC. Now let us talk about weapons and Quickslots for our Ember. For weapon, you know, the Quarterstaff of the War Mage is always the best for any DC focused character, as it's yet another +2 increase to DC. Once again, it's why I say that Ember can easily acquire high DC even without being the main character with a true mythic path. Ember doesn't really require any other weapons because she will be either casting Infinite Hexes like Slumber and Evil Eye, or powerful crowd control spells like Greater Command and Overwhelming Presence. She never has to directly attack the enemy, not even with ranged weapons. As far as Quickslots, our usual package for casters, a Greater Quicken Meta Magic Rod, mostly to quicken Overwhelming Presence, but also meta-magic versions of Greater Command. The Grandmaster's Rod to automatically empower and maximize spells, perfect when combining it with a bolstered HELLFIRE Ray, especially since our first one cast in battle will be a swift action, thanks to the Sorcerer's Reflex mythic feat. The Devouring Lust Rod to maximize any spell, an Extend Meta-Magic Rod, in case you need to extend some of Ember's buffs. We aren't really getting greater enduring spells with this build. The Old Grimoire can help by granting you extra casts of level 1, 2 and 3 spells, but at the point you get it you might as well leave it for a paladin like Scylla or a ranger like a Ruchalet, as they get a lot more uses of their first, second and third level spells. Otherwise, there is always the Signet of House Vespertilio to give Ember a +5 bonus to her Persuasion. Well, alright friends, so this was it for my updated Ember build guide. If you found this video useful, then please remember to like, subscribe and even consider becoming a channel member. Your help will go a long way. My next companion guide is most likely going to be Darren. Thank you for watching and see you next time, friends.